我哋時間到啦。
Members, it's 2:30 now. It's the appointed time. We have a quorum. I call to order the meeting. It's the Subcommittee on Issues Relating to the Development of Web3 and Virtual Assets, VA. First of all, in December last year, the subcommittee invited the public to submit written submissions on the regulation of VA transactions and the development of Web3 ecosystem. The Secretariat had received around 20 written submissions. Together with the response from the administration, they have been uploaded on the webpage of the subcommittee. Agenda item number 1, regulation of VA trading platforms. Let us first invite the administration to join us.
係，鄧官員嚟緊啦。係，好。OK， 我先。
All right. We have 4 officials today. Mr. Joseph Chen, Undersecretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, Ms. Tana Chong, Dr. Eric Yip from the SFC, as well as Ms. Elizabeth Wong from the SFC. Welcome to the meeting today. I'll give the floor to the official to walk us through the paper. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to take members through the regulation of VA trading platforms, VATP. The emergence of VA brings us a lot of opportunities as well as challenges. So we need to build a comprehensive and effective regulatory framework to protect investors, stabilize the market, and enhance Hong Kong's status as an international financial center. So I'd like to take members through what we have done in relation to the regulation of VATP. In October 2022, the government issued a policy statement on the development of VAs. Under the principle of same activity, same risks, same regulation, we are committed to enhancing the VA regulatory framework. In June 2023, the amended Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorist Financing Ordinance KEP 615, we introduced a licensing regime for VA service providers, ensuring that VATPs comply with relevant international requirements on anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing while protecting investors. In relation to deemed to be licensed applicants, the SFC has put in place a swift licensing process for processing the applications of these applicants with pre-existing business in Hong Kong. As at the end of last year, 7 licensees have been given licenses in total. The SFC is handling 11 applications, including 7 deemed to be licensed applicants. The SFC has also conducted the on-site inspection program to make sure the relevant requirements are complied with. We are faced with new challenges as well as risks. Stablecoins play a very important role in Web3 as well as in the VATPs. There is also growing interconnection between the traditional financial system and VA markets. We have introduced the stablecoins bills into the Council. The proposed regulatory framework will address the risks arising from this issue. There will also be better protection to the stablecoin investors. The Relevant Bills Committee convened the first meeting today. We look forward to the passage of the bill. Over-the-counter services are also involved. They run in the form of online platforms as well as physical stores. Last year, the first round of consultation was conducted. Based on the views we have collected, we have made adjustments, and we are going to conduct the second round of public consultation this year. That is to make sure we can cater for the latest development and changes in the market. We also aim to provide investor protection. That's why we have formulated a proposed licensing regime for VA custodian service providers in order to provide further protection. We will conduct a public consultation in 2025. We have also set up a consultative panel for VATPs in order to ensure that licensed VATPs' perspectives are considered in the SFC's policymaking. The regulation on VAs is a continuous process. We'll continue to monitor market changes as well as international discussions to enhance our regulatory framework. The government, SFC, as well as other regulators will continue to work hard together in order to protect investors and boost market confidence. At the same time, we will also forge a sustainable business environment to promote Web3 as well as the ecosystem of VAs in Hong Kong. The SFC and my colleagues are willing to take members' questions. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Under Secretary. There are a total of 6 members waiting to speak: Mr. Ronald Chan, Mr. Rock Chan, Mr. Robert Lee, Ms. Carmen Kan, Mr. Yim Kong, and Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. We have sufficient time today, I believe. 5 minutes each. Mr. Ronald Chan. Thank you, Chairman. The first question relates to OTC regulation of VAs. As we all know, this is the main trend. As the Under Secretary said, same activity, same risks, same regulation. That is the principle we abide by. There are vending machines for VAs or virtual coins or currencies. We are seeing these vending machines everywhere. There is no specific regulator overseeing this activity. From the information paper, I see that the CNED is going to regulate such machines. At present, the CNED regulates money changers. For other activities, they are under the purview of the Hong Kong MA, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, and the SFC. I'd like to know why OTC trading services are under the purview of the CNED. Why is it not under the purview of the financial regulators? Will the CNED only be an implementation agent of the laws? Is it not up to date with the latest financial market changes or trends comparing with other regulators? Can you tell us what you think about this? In relation to the licensing process, it is said that an external assessor will have to be engaged to supervise the external assessment process. There will also be a tripartite engagement with the administration. So I'd like to know the assessment standard of external assessors. What perspective did you adopt? How to protect investors with the external assessment process? My last question is that the senior management will form a consultative panel. Do you require all platforms to send senior management to the panel, one representative, or more than one representative? How frequent will the reviews be? Annually, quarterly? Can you tell me more? Thank you. Thank you, member, for your question. There are a total of 3 questions. I'll take the question on policies in relation to external assessors as well as a consultative panel. I'll give the floor to the SFC. As member said, we work on the regulation of VAs, and the principle we use is same activity, same risks, and same regulation. In fact, For different service providers, their internal operation practice differs. They have different practices with handling customers. Their target transaction amounts also differ. In last consultation exercise, we asked the market about their views. We needed to make sure that there won't be the issue of regulatory arbitrage. This is very important. At present, we are consolidating the feedback we have collected. In the second round of the consultation period, we'll continue to tap the market about their views. The principle of same activity, same risks, and same regulation, as well as the prevention of regulatory arbitrage, will definitely tread with caution and will factor them in the course of the design of the system. I'll give the floor to the SFC. Thank you. In relation to the external assessors as well as the external assessment process, in recent years, we have issued a circular to all virtual asset trading platforms. We have refined the entire process. So we require a direct assurance engagement. Therefore, we require the external assessors to be monitored by the AFRC Accounting and Financial Reporting Council. The policy, procedures, systems, and controls are under the regulation. Third question, in relation to external assessment, I believe members are aware of the circular. We have streamlined the procedures. Through the external process, we can expedite the licensing process. The SFC will also be involved in the external assessment process. This way we can save time. In relation to the circular to VA trading platforms, we have conducted consultation with the market. They are supportive of this practice. In relation to the operation of the consultative panel, as the Undersecretary said, there are at present 7 VATPs. We have invited their senior management to join the panel. We expect each of the VATPs will send one senior management representative. We mainly provide services to VATPs, so the representatives will come from these VATPs as well. We are going to hold the first meeting soon. There is no time or frequency set in stone. We convene meetings if need be. And I believe this is welcome. This is welcomed by different participants. Mr. Rock Chan. Thank you. Some VATPs related to members of the council that they run into difficulties and challenges in relation to opening an account with banks, including cumbersome procedures and time-consuming procedures, comparing with Singapore and Dubai. Our trade divide isn't competitive enough. They said that they would have to move to Singapore as a result. So I'd like to ask, of course, I agree that we need to fare better in regulation. But how will the administration promote industrial development? The market needs to be buoyant, otherwise it's not meaningful. There are three ETF right now. Comparing with iShare, the largest one in the US, it's vastly different. Market participation, product diversity, function. There is still much room for improvement. So I'd like to ask the administration, what is on your mind? How can you boost the market so Hong Kong will see a new industry as an international financial center? Thank you.
Bureau Secretary, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Member, for his question. I'm going to answer first the two questions, and then concerning the competitiveness of the exchange, I'm going to defer that to SFC. Now, concerning opening an account, we do understand that in the market, individual institutions are saying that they are facing difficulties in opening up cryptocurrency accounts. We are going to work on this on various fronts. First of all, Hong Kong MA has reminded licensed institutions to treat customers fairly. And so this is an agreement. And also it should be risk-based, oriented. What that means is that they should not set any preconditions to create unnecessary difficulties for clients to opening up an account. And so we hope that banks will treat their customers fairly and also will treat such process in a risk-based manner. And also concerning clients that wish to opening up new accounts, actually, they don't only look at Hong Kong's regulations or laws. They have to look at the entire global situation. And they, of course, they have to look at the regulatory requirements. And in Hong Kong, Hong Kong MA will still require banks to treat the customers fairly and also to adopt a risk-based approach when it comes to allowing their customers to opening up an account concerning cryptocurrency. Now, concerning the transactional volume for ETF, we have seen that in recent months, the ETF popularity in Hong Kong has actually increased, and various operators actually have communicated to us as to what are the means in order to boost their business and trading volume and so on and so forth. Indeed, we continue to establish dialogue with them so that we could adopt measures that could facilitate their business. As for the competitiveness of license holders under our licensing regime, I'm going to defer that to SFC. Concerning market development, I recall that in October at a fintech seminar, I already said that for VA, TP development in Hong Kong, actually success is not on the number of licenses that have been issued. Actually, it depends more on whether licensed and regulated activities are having sufficient liquidity in the market and popularity in the market. The main work for us last year really was to optimize licensing process for holders that are of licenses that have already been issued. And that is why we're working on the 7 deemed to be license holders. And this has already yielded results. And also, why is it that we are in a hurry kick-starting the consultative panel? Because we want license platforms to be able to, in an orderly manner, develop the business as soon as possible. And so this is going to be the main thrust of this year's work. Now, there are several aspects to this. First of all, for product. Indeed, we have rivals in the world. However, in terms of safety, I think we are at the top of the rank. And also, whether there are any other areas that we could open up the market even more. Indeed, we could explore into that. And I do agree that in terms of custodial requirements, we are the most stringent among our rivals. And indeed, we'll look at the possibility of relaxing that a bit. We are also monitoring the existing platforms and their operation. Indeed, while they continue to operate, it might increase our confidence in their ability. And if that happens, then there might be room for us to relax the requirement a little bit. And we believe that in due course and a given time, we'll be able to increase our market liquidity and popularity. Mr. Lee? Now, concerning the licensing system for the VATPs, macroscopically speaking, the government has already issued a policy statement. It seems that from very high up level in the government, the government is really committed to promoting this. I think the regulatory authority has heard this from me many, many times. And the market operators are still saying that the market is moving ahead too slowly. If you look at the list of license holders, there are currently 7 of them. The first one was licensed in 2020 and the second one 2022. And then 2024, a bunch of them being licensed. Now, there are 11 other potential license holders, and 8 of them will be or have been in 2024. 11 of them are under application perusal. And so, while they are in the process of applying for their license, they continue to consume their financial resources. Of course, for these market operators, they want to get the license as soon as possible. And once their business is up and running, they would want to diversify their products. At the retail level, of course, the room for development is limited. Now, if there are only 2 cryptocurrencies that are allowed in the retail market, then this would really hurt our competitiveness. Because in other markets, we can see that they already have futures and also other kinds of derivatives being developed from that market. Now, it seems that policy-wise, we are all committed to bringing this forward. But actually, on the ground, things are not moving ahead fast enough. And the market operators are now crying out for help. Because first of all, they have to get licensed, and at the same time, they have to pay for professional services, and they have to acquire products for sale, and so on and so forth. And Mr. Chen also mentioned bank services, and this is something I've heard as well. Of course, Hong Kong MA has launched a series of measures, and they have a team following up on banks' processing of customers applying for the opening of an account. But it seems that right now it takes a very long time for them even to get a signature done. And it seems that this is not really helpful for us if we want to bring this forward in a very swift manner. Of course, macroscopically speaking, we already have a policy that says that this should be brought forward as soon as possible. But on the ground, you really have to make things easier for the applicants. Because we might have a new company that is trying to opening up an account. However, they encounter a lot of headwind in terms of procedural difficulties. So I just want the Bureau to demonstrate that they really are committed to accelerating this in earnest, and to demonstrate it to us as well as to the world and also to the market, while at the same time not compromising the integrity of the regulatory regime. I would like to adopt a macro point of view to let you know our approach towards Web3 development, and then I'm going to defer to SFC to let you know how we are going to increase competitiveness and how to help the market to develop. Now, Web3 is not the only asset that is in the VATP market. The year before, and Hong Kong has become the first territory in the world that issued green bond-based VAT. And also last year, we are also the first one in launching another VAT product. And so in terms of launching various products, we have already achieved some progress. In Hong Kong, we've got several hundred companies that are operating Web3 related business. And during the FinTech week, a lot of Web3 operators coming from all over the world have come to Hong Kong to attend these seminars. And also, every time we have conferences and symposiums on Web3 matters or businesses, several thousand participants will take part from all over the world. And as I said in my opening remarks, we already have 7 license holders, and there are other license applicants that are in the pipeline waiting approval from SFC. And I'm going to defer to SFC to let you know about the measures to increase competitiveness. Now, concerning the licensing regime, as I explained earlier on, that was the main thrust of our work last year. And last December, we issued 4 licenses. And I can tell you that very soon, new licenses will be approved. We're very close to approving further new licenses. And I'm sure the good news will come out in the first quarter of this year. Actually, last year, we have already done on the site inspection of all license applicants, not only the 4 license applicants that are imminently going to be licensed. And so we have already increased our two-way communication very significantly. And so everybody is now going through the process as swiftly as possible. And we want to allow time for the platform to give us a response after we have raised issues with them. And the market is telling us that this very direct manner of dialogue actually is going to accelerate the license approval process. And there are 11 license applicants that are in the pipeline. Of course, our bottom line is that we have to ensure cybersecurity and investors' protection, and this is something that we attach great importance to. And we have seen international examples of precedents that tell us that even the slightest slip in terms of vigilance would hurt investors' interests. And so given us if you give us a little bit of time, definitely there'll be more good news on the licensing front. Now, concerning Mr. Chen's query, this year, we believe that we have already adopted a very orderly approach with regard to approving licenses. And so for license applicants that really are qualified, they definitely will get their licenses. The other issue is we want the consultative panel to be launched as soon as possible because we want to hear views from the market because we are the regulatory authority. However, our resources are limited, and we want the market to tell us which is the most strategic areas that we should devote our resources to. And so we want to devote our resources to the parts of the market that really are most useful to market operators. My question actually is very similar to Mr. Chen Jianying's question. I'm worried about the mode of supervision over over-the-counter trading. And the Bureau Secretary's report says that in the beginning of this year, the second round of consultation will be done on the amended bill. And like Mr. Chen, since your underlying principle is that same business, same risk, and same supervision. So the first question is whether we are dealing with the same business. Now you say that the Customs and Excise Department really is the right authority here, but it seems that the market has a lot of reservation. Because if you look at MAS, even though it is a consolidated regulatory authority, is it really the right authority for supervising exchange of a cryptocurrency or a digital currency? Actually, we are advocating that it should be renamed digital currency. But be that as it may, I think is it really a good idea to leave it to the regulatory authority to decide whether it's the same business, whether it's the same risk, or whether it should require same supervision, or should we leave it to the market? And so the important thing is that we have to instill confidence in the market. And the second concern of mine is the custodial service. At present, licensed operators at present are providing custodian services through their fully owned subsidiaries. Of course, legally speaking, we're talking about two entities here. And so in terms of ring fencing the assets, technically speaking, the custodian might be a separate legal entity. However, it belongs to the same conglomerate. And so if the mother company actually collapses, then in terms of contaging the risk and also contaging the ripple effect, the fully owned subsidiary cannot be exempted from that. And so you also have to take that into account when it comes to your supervision.
I agree with Mr. Robert Lee. The Hong Kong Army Executive Director said that they are expecting room for enhancement of the local financial market. From the perspective of market development and product development, what plans do you have? 3 questions, Undersecretary. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member. In relation to the regulatory regime for OTC services, I understand members' views. We keep our mind open. In the first consultation exercise, we heard a lot of views. So we're going to proceed with the next round of consultation. Our underlying principle is same activity, same risks, same regulation. And we also need to prevent regulatory arbitrage. So when we design our future regulatory regime, we'll definitely take into account all these factors. In relation to the best regulatory system, we are considering the feedback and views collected from the first consultation exercise. Companies have different practices. Some are mainly online business, whereas some have physical stores. We are still studying the views we have collected. We'd like to put in place a regulatory framework. Then we can discuss it with members. In relation to custodian services of VAs, there are different types of providers. So how can we formulate a comprehensive regulatory regime? We keep our mind open right now. We will also conduct a public consultation exercise to collect views from the public. In relation to transaction platforms, I'll give the floor to the SFC. We have started with the regulation of VATPs. As I mentioned, there are views in the market. They have views on our regulation or how to meet the regulation requirements. I understand the SFC has always been listening to stakeholders, so I'd like to give the floor to the SFC. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Undersecretary. In answer to members' questions, the public consultation exercise provides us with stakeholders' views. Same activity, same risks, same regulation, that is our principle, and we have experience with investors. So in our dialogue with the industry, we'll consider the perspective of professional investors. We'll give the market more room for development. Next, Mr. Yim Kong. Thank you, Chairman. There's been rapid development in VAs, not least in the US. After Trump took office, the SFC in the US will issue guidelines in relation to cryptocurrencies. This will further enhance the U.S. leading status as a leader in cryptocurrencies. Therefore, we need to put in place measures so that we can provide an environment conducive to the development of stablecoins in Hong Kong. That's exactly how we can build a complete or comprehensive ecosystem for stablecoins. Just now, Mr. Robert Lee mentioned there are only 7 VATPs having been licensed. 11 applications are being processed. I agree that we need to streamline the licensing or the application process. We should give investors more choices. We provide protection in relation to the liquidity of the market. For the amount of money collected from or raised from stablecoins, it is regulated under 7.25 by the SFC. There are certain regulations in relation to the sale or transactions of the derivatives or related tools. Can investors be allowed to invest in Hong Kong dollar issued funds? Or can they invest in financial derivatives in relation to risk hedging? Between institutes and investors, will taxes be induced? If so, can they be exempted? Well, they are more related to stablecoins. Let's see if the administration has anything to say in relation to this area. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member. We've noted members' views and we'll consider them after the meeting. At the macro level, we mentioned fierce competition in the global VA market. Hong Kong has competitive edge in relation to promoting the development of VAs. We have a common law system. We attach a lot of importance to the business environment of VAs. We are a leading international financial center in Asia. Asset management, bonds, we rank among the best in the world. For tokenized bonds, securities, or VA-related ETF or funds, we have a strong basis of financial products. So we provide an interface between traditional financial products and these financial products. So we attach a lot of importance to these policies, and we want to provide a good business environment. I've heard members' views in relation to relaxation of services on the part of banks. We'll relate your views to banks. In relation to taxes as mentioned by members, I hope that I will be able to address members' question. I'm not sure which part exactly member is referring to. We have recently conducted soft consultation, so to speak, regarding family offices or private credit, virtual assets, and VAs. Can we provide a better tax environment? We are conducting a market consultation exercise. In the budget 2024, that is last year, in relation to family offices and the relevant funds, for those that have yet to meet the legal requirement, we will further study the possibility of providing tax concessions. We're working on this right now. I'll see if the SFC has anything else to add. I'll respond to stablecoins in brief. I'll talk about their links with VATPs. Hong Kong is going to introduce a stablecoins regulatory framework. So for VATPs under the purview of the Hong Kong MA, will permit the provision of stablecoin transactions. The aim is to allow a comprehensive ecosystem that will cover stablecoins as well. For Project Ensemble, we have collaboration. Say asset management, the SFC is responsible for leading this area. We'll think how we can lead banks to innovate as well as the application of stablecoins. We'll look into these in detail this year. Next, Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. Of course, I support the future development of VAs. I want the development of VAs to be aligned with the international development. A good regulatory regime matters. For the proposed legislative amendments that concerns licensing system, it is expected that CNED will be responsible for this area. I'd like to know whether the CNED has the relevant expertise, know-how, as well as talents to fare well in regulation. If they are to be responsible for this, how can they monitor the situation? How can they provide regulation? Do businesses need to report the number of investors to the CNED, or will the CNED conduct surprise checks? That will involve a huge amount of manpower. Ms. Carmen Khan mentioned a few areas, and I have heard from the industry as well. In relation to VA custodian services, we are looking into a licensing regime. The CNED is licensing body. Is it responsible for regulation as well? What is the role of the SFC? Is there any clear division of work between the SFC and the CNED? What exactly will the CNED be responsible for? Under Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member. What Member asked is exactly what we have heard from the industry. Clarifications on 2 points. The regulatory regime is under the purview of the SFC. It's up and running right now. In relation to OTC transactions, we completed the first round of consultation, and we are going to conduct the second round of consultation. The regulatory framework hasn't been available yet. I thank Member for the view. We'll continue to listen to Member. In relation to the VA custodian service provider regulatory framework, we have completed the first round of the consultation exercise. We are tapping the market for views. Afterwards, we will proceed with building a regulatory framework. And we will also consider it in our internal discussions. I'd like to clarify our purpose is clear. We need to prevent potential regulatory arbitrage, and our underlying principle is same activity, same risks, same regulation. So what regulatory method should we use? What kind of regulator should we engage? We'll look into it. Regarding what members have mentioned, we'll consider them in detail. So do you mean you have no concrete plan at present? Right, indeed. You want the CNED to be the licensing department? Why? In the first round of the consultation, we mentioned the CNED. We've heard from the market, however. So we are considering views from the market. We are making adjustments to our regulatory directions. So at present, we have no concrete proposal. We are still studying the details and we are having internal discussions. In relation to the first round of the consultation, I'll let my colleague tell you more.
Thank you for your question, and also thank the Bureau Secretary for his initial answer. Now, concerning the first round of consultation, if you recall, the background then was that there were certain unlicensed trading platforms that were involved in fraud cases, and that has attracted a lot of public concern. When the incident occurred, we indeed have come before you to explain our regulatory regime then. And we can see that such activities actually could be conducted by physical outlets, and members of the public can have easy access to those physical outlets. And so against such a backdrop, we have mounted our first round of consultation, and back then we named CNED as a possible regulatory authority because we are talking about a straightforward supervisory regime of physical outlets. And the mode of a transaction actually would be similar to currency exchange shops. And that's why back then we named the Customs Excise Department as possible regulatory authority. But after the first round of consultation, we have heard a lot of views from the industry, and we discovered that in the market, actually, physical outlets are not the only channels through which such virtual asset trading can be conducted. And that is why we have heard that, and we are now trying to tweak our final proposal, incorporating views collected in the first round of consultation. Okay, I'm sure the Bureau Secretary has heard Mr. Ma's views. Time really is money, and if you miss the strategic juncture, then it's not going to wait for you. And digital asset and also crypto asset really is a huge market, and it is very important for Hong Kong as a financial market, and we really need to diversify our products. And this is also where the rest of the world is moving towards. And so we really have to gain an edge here. We are not trying to sell such products only to 7 million Hong Kong people, but also 7 billion world population through very innovative products. And so concerning the launch of products guideline, that is very, very important. We are now talking about stable coins, and then custodian services, and then OTC transaction. It seems that you are dealing with it in a piece and parcel manner. It seems that you are trying to cut it into pieces, and also they are subject to different rounds of consultation. Now, after the VATPs have all been licensed, then you proceed to issue guidelines concerning new products. And so do you have a timeline for that? Now, it seems that the banks are telling us that they do not have sufficient products to sell. Now, if there is such a big demand from Hong Kong and also from the rest of the world, it seems that they are really in need of more products to sell. And also, if they want, they could actually compress the time required for selling products if necessary. But the bottom line is that they must have sufficient products. Now, it seems that we are in the third year of this preparatory process. Now, can you give us an undertaking that in terms of product guidelines and in terms of other consultation exercise that have yet to be done, you can give us a complete timeline so that we know exactly how long will it take, and also the rest of the world can know as well. Indeed, I thank Mr. Yao for having a very close cooperation with us concerning development of Web3. First of all, now concerning the legislative framework, indeed, this morning we had the first meeting with the Bills Committee on Stablecoins. And I'd like to thank the Legislative Council for helping us in vetting the stablecoins bill. We hope that this can be enacted as soon as possible. Indeed, time is money, and we have to let the market know as soon as possible. Where do we go from here? And from our experience with VATPs, even though VATPs know that we have to go through the legislative process, but when we launch a consultation exercise, they already saw that we were already moving towards a certain direction with regard to regulatory framework establishment. And this is very important to them, and that is why my team is very committed to, as soon as possible, release details concerning consultation over OTC transaction as well as custodian services. And we're going to move ahead with this as soon as possible. Apart from regulatory regime, of course, diversification of product and innovation of product is also very important. And that is why earlier on, we have already launched the digital bond subsidy scheme in order to help the market to launch relevant products. And also, we are working with Project Ensemble to launch digital savings products. And so, on various fronts, we are trying to move this forward, some through legislation, other through a subsidy scheme, and so on and so forth. And thirdly, publicity is very important, and members have pointed out very correctly that maybe in certain areas, we have already achieved certain progress. For instance, we are already achieving progress in converging traditional financial products such as bond with digital currency or virtual assets. And also, the Embro currency has already moved towards the product launch stage. And so we are attaching great importance to this. And we are thinking on how in 2025 we can promote this even better, and we can do an even better job of marketing this. Right, we have only one last speaker on the list, and if you want a second round of questions, and you can press your button now. I'd like to know this. From our recent observations, it seems that Trump has just launched his own mini coin, or it has been rising in terms of prices from $10 to $70 right after he has reported to his presidency. Now, it seems that the financial market observers are saying that compared to his first term of office, Trump this time around is going to adopt a different attitude towards the acceptance of cryptocurrency. Now, during his first term of office, when he was president for the first time, he did not warm yet to cryptocurrency, but it seems that he has adopted an about turn. The American government, of course, is a very big government. Now, it seems that from the very, very top, i.e., Trump as a president of the American government is now adopting an about turn towards the acceptance of cryptocurrency, because we are not talking about an individual's behavior. We are talking about the head of the American government having a whole different set of mindset towards cryptocurrency. So how is it going to impact the overall global financial market? Of course, all along I've been following up on this. Now it seems that we are adopting a middle of the road approach. Now it seems that in America it's a free-for-all approach with very minimal regulation. We are having a more moderate approach with some sort of supervision. But the question still remains whether Customs Excise Department really is the right department for regulating this. I think my colleagues have already mentioned this several times. I think we, as a flexible government, really has to be very, very maneuverable here. I think you really have to keep yourself abreast of the latest development. Because if you look at the American government, it seems that they are having an about-turn attitude towards cryptocurrency. This has puzzled a lot of people, including myself. So I think this is not going to be their only moves. There will be other follow-up moves on their part. I thank Member for his very comprehensive views. First of all, I have to emphasize once more that concerning OTC supervisory framework of V8 trading, we're going to do a second round of consultation. We're going to do that in earnest and as soon as possible. And secondly, indeed, we have to keep ourselves completely abreast of latest market developments in the world. Indeed, we are following very closely international discussion and dialogue over supervision over cryptocurrency. And we are keeping a very close watch over the latest innovations in financial products and also the moves that are being made by our rivals. We are the third financial hub in the world, and in Asia we are the top one. And so in terms of preventing terrorists from raising funds, and in terms of protecting investors, and in terms of cybersecurity, we really have to have a good enough regulatory regime. And at the same time, we also want the market to have sufficient flexibility and maneuverability. And indeed, we are keeping a very close dialogue with the market because the market is at the front line and they know what's happening on the ground. And that is why last week we have had our first meeting concerning the marketing of Web3 business and products. And so our team is having a very close dialogue with the market concerning Web3 development. And the regulatory authority and the government as well as the industry will work very, very closely together so that we can have a very good ecosystem for this business. I think Hong Kong has another edge. On one hand, Hong Kong's legislative process would involve consultation, and also we have to go through certain steps of first reading, second reading, and third reading, and so on and so forth. However, the global market might think that this is actually an advantage because they do appreciate that once a piece of legislation is being enacted in Hong Kong, then it is not easy to change it again. So the environment would be quite stable. The legislative environment would be quite stable, unlike certain other markets where laws can be changed overnight, which would promise a lot of instability. So there is certainty with us. And so the important thing is we really have to get it across to the industry as to where we are heading so that they know how to prepare themselves for it.
Mr. Lee Chen-kung. Thank you, Chairman. Web3 and VAs are inextricably linked. After Trump has taken office, as member mentioned, the relevant news has dominated the world. Trump, as well as his wife, have issued the relevant cryptocurrencies of their own. This is happening all over the world. In Hong Kong, we have FT, we have VAs. In different countries, they have their own rules as well as regulatory frameworks. I want to know which country Hong Kong has drawn reference from. Will we draw reference from one particular practice and use it as a testing field? Well, there were different popular cryptocurrencies around the world. I'm not going to give you any specific example, but we can draw reference from these very popular cryptocurrencies. Then we can facilitate transactions of cryptocurrencies in Hong Kong. Undersecretary, indeed, we attach a lot of importance to global market development as well as our competitive edge in comparisons with different countries. Apart from rules and regulations, we also attach a lot of importance to other factors. So in the FinTech Week in 2022, we issued our own NFT. We wanted to let the industry know we do set great store by the development of Web3. 2 years ago in February, we became the first place in the world to issue tokenized green bond as a government. So we use different means to demonstrate our importance attached to Web3 in relation to our communication with different regulators all over the world, how to promote business while at the same time fulfilling our responsibility as a financial regulator. I will give the floor to the SFC to talk about our collaboration with the world, as well as the role we play on the international stage. IOSCO is the international organization. Hong Kong is a very important stakeholder and participant. In our regular communication, we touched upon the regulation of VAs as well as our positions in this regard. In our exchange, I found that for the stability of regulation as well as the integrity of regulation, we are among the best of the world. Therefore, some regulators exchange views with us. As members mentioned, there are fast and frequent changes in this market. We need to keep tabs on international market development. In this connection, Hong Kong plays a critical role in the international market. Well, that's all from me. Chairman, I'd like to follow up. I'll be quick. Even if you don't do anything, all these trades are happening as well. We need to focus on Hong Kong to provide more application scenarios. The aim is to enhance liquidity. Talents are also important. So how can you identify talents to work in this regard? Well, I want to hear from the administration. Well, later on, we're going to have a session specifically to talk about talents. Well, in relation to application scenarios, not just about investment, trade, members referring to application scenarios in general. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member. In relation to regulation, even if there is no regulation, there are already activities happening. We need to protect the interest of investors. Investors expect regulation as well. For service providers that aim to develop in the long term, the level of investor protection will increase when there is regulation. That is to enable investors to tell the difference between different service providers. Details matter. It's important to ensure orderly development of the market. Application scenarios, yes, indeed, in this regard, there are sandbox projects. So for new financial products, we can make good use of sandboxes of financial regulators to collect feedback. I thank members for your views. If members would like to provide views in relation to specific or individual projects, I welcome members to reach out to us. Professor William Wong. Thank you, Chairman. My first question is about the promotion of financial activities. Hong Kong is an international financial center. We enjoyed great reputation. We have Stock Connect. Have you considered carrying out transactions with mainland? I oftentimes mentioned in the promotion of INT, the government plays an important role. If the government can make good use of technology, this will give many users confidence. There are smart contracts in Web3. What departments within the government will make good use of digital contracts? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member, for your question. In relation to rules and regulation on the mainland, there were restrictions. I hope member understands that our rules and regulation in relation to VA differ vastly from that on the mainland. In relation to application in Hong Kong, if the government can take the lead, that will be beneficial to the development of Web3. So in 2022, the government issued NFT, and in 2023, we became the first ever government to issue green tokenized bonds. Last year, in 2024, we issued the second batch of government green tokenized bonds. We'll see what application scenarios that will be conducive to the development of Web3. In relation to blockchain development within the government, we make use of this technology in operation, but in relation to the development, I will continue to compare notes with the ITIB in relation to the development in this area. Professor William Wong, the role of the government is to promote INT. Well, I think we can enhance promotion to let the public know this is very important and this is very effective. Second round, Ms. Carmen Khan. Thank you, Chairman. In relation to the regulation of VATPs, I want to raise a macro issue. Just now, Mr. Holden Chow mentioned we need to have regard to the international market, international changes, as well as the position of the mainland market and what role Hong Kong can play. We owe our success to internationalization as well as our communication and dialogues with the industry. So in this connection, at the macro level, the principle of same activity, same risks, same regulation, I hope that the administration will conduct reviews in a dynamic manner. The industry may not see eye to eye with you. Some of them may want the administration to do more. Some of them think otherwise. There are different views. So what strategies have you adopted in relation to market regulation? We need to pay attention to the best practice in the world. For the consultative panel that comprises senior management, you need to take a leading position. You need to think ahead of the industry. For MSO, well, there are actually not just physical stores. Like in one of the cases, J, you can tell not all stores are physical stores. Some have a very dynamic development. So I'd like to know how the consultative panel can help you. You'll have to make a decision as to what to do. You cannot rely fully on the consultative panel. In relation to the on-site inspection program, which should be effective, you provide valid licenses to these institutions. We want you to diversify your products. We want you to issue more licenses. Is this practice a good one? Is it backed by figures? Did you reject any applications? Or were any applications withdrawn? Can you tell us the program is successful, backed by figures? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member, for your question. We adopt the principle of same activity, same risks, same regulation. There are different requirements in different cases. Take VATPs as an example. We need to protect the assets of investors. So we require client asset segregation. We also require operators to have a certain amount of cash flow. Of course, in different scenarios, such requirements vary from one to another. In relation to the concrete requirements, they will change according to market development. So we'll keep a close watch on the international market development, and we will also monitor the latest changes in the products in the market. We'll continue to make adjustments as well as enhancements to our existing regulatory framework. This is our line of thought. In relation to trading platforms, that is the on-site inspection program, I'll give the floor to my colleague. Or consultative panel, I will give the floor to the SFC. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Member. I'll respond to Member in relation to the two aspects. First of all, in relation to the consultative panel, if we don't put in place any regulation, well, please speak into the microphone. Thank you. There are different views in the market, so the composition of the consultative panel, when organizations have obtained licenses from us, we do expect orderly development for these institutions. We have sent invitations to the 7 VATPs. They will send their representatives. So we'll form a consultative panel to listen to their views. That's how they can relate the situation of the industry to us. That's exactly one of the ways for us to collect views about the market. In relation to on-site inspection programs, it has been effective. As the saying goes, seeing is believing. If members have noted, we issued a circular just last week. It's about making enhancements to our approval mechanisms. There was a document to let the industry know the observations we have made. Our observations are very important. We want the market to know about our observations as well. We don't just want to let the 7 platforms know. For the detailed guidelines, they are mainly in relation to custodian services as well as cybersecurity. Our on-site inspection programs are risk-based. Custodian services and cybersecurity are very important. They are uppermost in our mind. Thank you.
Mr. Wong, this is your first round of question. Page 3 of the paper, footnote 5, it says that under the current licensing application process, an applicant is required to submit an external assessor report and another external assessor report after an approval in principle has been granted. I'd like to know what's the biggest difference between the 2 reports. Is it that the second report is a direct accreditation or a positive assurance report, FAE 3000? So is it that between the 2 reports, the SFC will send someone down there to have a dialogue with them so that there won't be too much toing and froing because this is all under trial and error process. So I'd like to know what's the biggest difference between the first report and the second report. And also, I'd like to know whether it's very difficult to find a practicing accountant to sign off on these applications. I'd like to know whether you have set down any standards in conjunction with Hong Kong Accounting Association. Okay, the Bureau Secretary or the Bureau. Now, concerning the first report and the second report, the external assessor report status, after our latest circular actually has been issued, we have already cancelled that kind of approach. We are combining the 2 assessor reports requirements. And so now only 1 assessor report is required. And so only 1 assessment is required. And our circular has indicated to the industry that this will be done in a combined manner. The SFC and the accounting firm and the FATP applicant will carry out 1 external assessor exercise. Only once. So through our communication and dialogue with the industry, they know where we are standing at so that we can have very clear directions for them. And they know exactly what is required. And after combining the 2 assessor reports, Actually, before doing that, we have done a lot of consultation with the industry, including FATPs, and also we have talked to accounting associations to see whether such a streamlining exercise actually is viable and what is most appropriate. And so all of this has been subject to consultation, and the industry is very, very accepting of this latest approach. And that is why we have combined the two assessor reports. Has the industry indicated that it's very difficult for them to get accountant to sign off on the reports? They have not indicated that kind of difficulty. Mr. Huang, I'm sorry I was later because there was another meeting next door. I might repeat points made by my colleagues. I'm very happy to see that the government is trying to promote virtual asset transaction, and it seems that they have optimized the licensing system and tried to tweak various aspects of that. And this morning we have learned about what the government is proposing to do concerning regulation over stablecoins transaction. Indeed, this is important to increasing investors' confidence and also certainty of market and integrity of market and so on and so forth. And we hope that this will also be helpful to the promotion of Web3 business. But of course, there are other concerns. We really want to fight fraud cases. If you look at the figures in 2021 and 2023, now concerning fraud cases in terms of the number of cases of fraud actually has increased from 1,739 to 3,410, and also in terms of money, it has increased to over $8 billion. And so I'd like to know whether this is a correct thing to say, i.e., now that the Bureau as well as other relevant authorities have expended huge efforts in fighting such fraud cases, I'd like to know whether the numbers have come down, whether the situation has taken a turn for the better. And also, this morning we heard about the process and also the preparation for stablecoins regulation. I'd like to know from the Bureau as to whether there is concrete publicity plans for you to educate the community as well as the industry. Of course, I know that you're trying to strike a very fine balance between regulation and maneuverability in the market. Indeed, concerning investor protection, this is one of our biggest concerns. Now, concerning the numbers in 2024, because we are only in the first month of 2025, we're still collating figures for 2024, and in due course, we are going to come back to you with the situation in 2024. As for investors' protection as well as education of the investing public, indeed, this is another of our biggest concern, and we do very strongly encourage financial institutions to really make everything very clear for their clients. And also, we have a committee on investment, education, investment protection, and also the investment promotion board. Chairman is also sitting on the committee on investors, education, and publicity. And so, indeed, one of our major task in 2024 is to really do a good job with public education and public publicity. Now, as for details and specifics concerning such publicity efforts, I'm going to leave them to SFC. Concerning online defrauding cases that hurt investors, now there is a rising trend all over the world for such cases. We do not yet have the numbers for 2024, but we have taken reference from earlier numbers and statistics. I can't say that I'm already very happy with Hong Kong's situation, but the investing public in Hong Kong actually has been hurt less compared to their counterparts in the rest of the world. And probably due to the fact that our regulatory regime is on the stringent side. But of course, we cannot rule out the possibility that the numbers will continue to rise. Now, in order to stem this tide, now there are two things that we are doing. We as regulatory authority has to be even more proactive. We have to educate online investors to be more aware. Last year, the SFC has mounted several very visible campaigns. In June and July, we have come up with a very clear message that if an institution says that he is yet to be licensed, then it means he's unlicensed. And also, we have another very clear-cut message to the members of the public that you shouldn't be taken for a ride. And so we are indeed mounting great efforts. And also concerning the strength of regulation, we also have to think hard on this. The OSCO has launched a consultative document on financial world's KOL, and we have participated in that consultative exercise. And so this is a cross-boundary and cross-border phenomenon that we are seeking to combat, because such fraud cases are crossing boundaries and crossing borders. And so it requires international cooperation, maybe through our regulation over licensed bodies and even unlicensed bodies. We really have to cooperate with other regulatory authorities in the international arena. So this is something we also have to do. Now, it's my turn finally. I want to declare interest. I myself am running a company that is involved in Web3 as well as virtual assets investment. Now, just now a colleague mentioned the question with banks, and now this is a serious situation because certain banks may come across certain companies that are involved in investment in Web3 or virtual assets investment, and then they get very, very nervous, and they would inquire as to the percentage of business in virtual assets that the particular company is involved in, and if above a certain level, then they would stop doing business with that company. Now, it seems that this flies against our promulgated policy. Now, secondly, about the number of licensed operators. At present, there are 7. I'd like to know whether the Bureau is worried about competition in the marketplace becoming too stiff, so that there is no more room for survival for these licensed operators. At present, the volume of transaction is not too large, and also number of operators is not large. Now, at present, there are 7 players, and so there may still be room for them to survive in the market. But if the market becomes more crowded, then will there be not enough room for everybody? And so concerning the type of products and the mode of doing business and investment, are you going to further widen the field? Because it seems that the government is not trying to target the 7 million investors in Hong Kong, but also the 7 billion world population. And so how are you going to make it easy for others to come to Hong Kong to invest? And finally, about manpower resources, I'd like to know from the Bureau whether you have sufficient manpower resources, because Hong Kong is a hub for innovation technology as well as financial services. And this is also one of the hottest business segment that is developing in the world. And so do you have sufficient manpower resources to do marketing and promotion and also regulation?
Thank you, Chairman, for your questions and views. First of all, in relation to bank accounts, I'll take this question and I'll give the floor to the SFC to answer your other questions. For licensed financial institutions, they should be treated on an equal footing. So the Hong Kong MA has been asking banks to treat customers fairly. A risk-based approach needs to be adopted, so we'll continue to require regulators to adopt the same standard. If there are specific cases, please refer these cases to us, and we will ask the Hong Kong MA to follow up on these cases. Thank you, Under Secretary. I'd like to respond to competition. Well, if so many enterprises are applying for a license, I met with these applicants, and they know that these are long-term investments. They are still willing to apply for these licenses, so not just regulators, the administration, or the market. We all have responsibility for developing this market. That is because market participants see hope, and they are still willing to make the applications, and this is actually a good phenomenon. I don't see enterprises having the mindset of making quick money, and I think this phenomenon is indeed healthy. Licensing isn't what worries me the most. To me, I think our major work focus is on enhancing services as well as regulation. So when the market identifies opportunities to enhance liquidity, so not just $7 billion, this is indeed an opportunity. As mentioned by members, we take the middle course. We don't run a lot of risks, nor are we the most conservative. We steer the middle course. We need protection, but we also need flexibility. And we do have the conditions to look for this highlight. Ms. Elizabeth Bong may increase manpower in this year, but you can simply answer Chairman's question directly. Well, we have set aside headcounts for our unit. We hope to add more manpower to work with us. We are also considering manpower deployment within the Commission. We aim to enhance the use of resources so we can focus our resources on fintech. No more members are waiting to speak. I'd like to thank the administration and the SFC. That concludes this section. Next agenda item, AOB. No any other business. So meeting adjourned. Thank you, members.